Have you ever wondered why you want what you want, not what you need, what you desire? That car, that brand, that soda, that lifestyle, it feels like your choice. But what if it isn't? What if, for more than a century, the world's most powerful industries have been studying your mind, not just what you think, but how you feel, and learning to pull the invisible strings of your subconscious? This is the hidden psychology of advertising. And it's changed who we are far more than most people realize. The birth of persuasion. It begins in the late 1800s. Factories are booming. Railroads stretch across continents. For the first time in history, products can be made faster than people can buy them. Companies needed a way to make people want things they didn't really need. And that's when advertising as we know it was born. Early ads were simple. Buy this soap, it cleanses better. But then psychology entered the picture. In the 1890s, a man named Walter Dill Scott, one of the first psychologists to study consumers, wrote that advertising should speak to suggestibility. He realized that people don't act rationally. They act on emotion, habit, and association. He said, "The consumer is not a creature of logic, but a creature of impulse." From that moment on, advertisers stopped selling products and started selling feelings. Then came the man who would forever change the game, Edward Bernays, nephew of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Bernays realized something chilling. If Freud could explain what drives human behavior, those same ideas could be used to control it. In 1928, Bernays wrote a book called Propaganda. In it, he said something bold, that democratic societies are actually governed by an invisible government, made up of people who manipulate public opinion. Drawing on the insights of his uncle Sigmund, he developed an approach he dubbed the engineering of consent. He provided leaders the means to control and regiment the masses according to our will without their knowing about it. To do so, it was necessary to appeal not to the rational part of the mind, but the unconscious message. He believed the masses were too irrational to make decisions on their own. So the smart few, marketers, politicians, corporations, should guide them. He called it the engineering of consent, and he proved it worked. When a tobacco company wanted to make it acceptable for women to smoke, Bernays didn't advertise cigarettes directly. Instead, he hired debutantes to march in the 1929 New York Easter Parade holding cigarettes, calling them torches of freedom. The media ran with it. The crowd cheered. Smoking became a symbol of liberation and equality, all engineered by an ad campaign. Another advertising campaign that Bernays was behind still affects most people to this day. In the 1920s, the Beech-Nut Packing Company wanted to sell more bacon. So it hired Edward Bernays. At the turn of the 20th century, a light breakfast was the norm in America. Most people had coffee and a roll, maybe some cereal. So Bernays asked his agency's doctor if a larger meal in the morning would be better for people's health. The doctor said yes, more energy at the start of the day is a good thing. Bernays then had the doctor write to 5,000 of his closest doctor friends, asking if they agreed. More than 14,500 wrote back saying they did. That gave Bernays a story to pitch. 4,500 physicians urge Americans to eat heavy breakfasts to improve their health, the newspaper headlines read. Many of them also referenced bacon and eggs as the perfect hearty breakfast. Today, 70% of bacon is eaten at breakfast. Bacon and eggs is an iconic American combo, all thanks to Edward Bernays. By this time, advertising was becoming more like psychological warfare. The television era after World War II, the world was flooded with consumer goods, cars, appliances, fashion, toys. Television entered nearly every home, and advertisers now had a direct line to the human subconscious. Commercials weren't just about products anymore. They were about identity. Ads sold happiness, belonging, status. The new suburban dream wasn't complete without a shiny car and smiling family. Psychologists like Ernest Dichter, another Freudian thinker, coined the term motivation research. He studied what consumers secretly desired: sex, power, comfort, safety, and taught corporations how to link those primal urges to everyday products. Perfume wasn't just scent, it was seduction. A car wasn't just transport, it was masculinity on wheels. Even slogans were crafted to bypass logic. You deserve a break today, because you're worth it. These weren't selling features, they were selling validation. Subliminal influence and the subconscious revolution. In 1957, a market researcher named James Vicary claimed he'd flashed hidden messages during a movie: drink Coca-Cola and eat popcorn, so fast the audience couldn't consciously see them. Sales reportedly spiked. The public was horrified. Governments panicked. Although Vicary later admitted he exaggerated the results, the idea stuck, that advertisers could slip messages directly into our subconscious minds. The phrase subliminal advertising entered the cultural lexicon. Psychologists began studying how color, music, and repetition could manipulate mood without awareness. Bright reds and yellows triggered hunger. Soft blues built trust. Jingles embedded brand names in our memory through sheer repetition. By the 1960s, advertisers were no longer just selling to you, they were designing your perception of reality. By the 1970s, consumer culture was in full bloom. Brands had personalities. Commercials had heartstrings. Coca-Cola wasn't selling soda, it was selling togetherness. Nike wasn't selling shoes, it was selling individual triumph. And the line between culture and commerce began to blur. Advertising started shaping who we wanted to be. Teenagers learned what cool meant from Pepsi commercials. Adults learned what success looked like from luxury car ads. Advertising had become our mythology, the stories we told about ourselves. During the 1980s and 90s, with the rise of cable TV and global media, these narratives went worldwide. Everywhere you looked, there was a message telling you how to live, what to buy, and who to become. By now, the subconscious wasn't just being targeted, it was being programmed. The digital takeover. Then the internet changed everything. Suddenly, advertisers didn't have to guess who you were. They could track you. Every click, every search, every like became psychological data, a detailed map of your preferences, fears, desires, and weaknesses. The advertising world no longer spoke to the masses, it spoke to you. Algorithms learned what colors you respond to, what phrases make you pause, even what time of day you're most likely to buy. What Bernays dreamed of in the 1920s, invisible manipulation through psychology, became automated, personalized, and global. Your subconscious wasn't just being influenced by ads, it was being monitored and monetized. And the creepiest part? You often don't even realize when you're being advertised to. On social media, the line between content and marketing has completely vanished. That relatable influencer talking about her favorite product? That viral meme? That TikTok trend? They might all be ads, carefully engineered to feel authentic. The most powerful advertising today doesn't look like advertising at all. Today, we live inside the machine. Advertising is no longer a separate thing we encounter. It's woven into the very fabric of our digital lives. Psychologists now speak of the attention economy. Your focus is the product being sold. Social media platforms use the same psychological tricks as classic advertisers, but amplified by data, speed, and constant feedback loops. Infinite scroll exploits variable reward schedules, the same mechanism that keeps gamblers hooked. Notifications trigger dopamine hits. Colors and sounds are tested endlessly to keep you engaged and exposed to more ads. In other words, advertising doesn't just sell products anymore. It sells you, your data, your attention, your time. We've gone from billboards on highways to billboards in our minds. What it's done to us. After more than a century of psychological advertising, something profound has changed in human behavior. We no longer ask, do I want this? We ask, should I want this? Our sense of identity is often built from the brands we consume. We express ourselves through logos, gadgets, styles, all designed by corporations that study human desire like a science. Even our emotions are marketed. Happiness has a brand, rebellion has a brand, individuality has a brand. And the most effective advertising doesn't feel manipulative, it feels personal, like it was made just for you. Because, in a way, it was. The hidden cost. What's the cost of living in a world that constantly manipulates the subconscious? Psychologists warn that it creates chronic dissatisfaction, a feeling that something is always missing, and that buying something will fix it. Advertising doesn't just sell you a product, it sells you anxiety. Then it sells you the cure. It teaches us to look outward for validation instead of inward for fulfillment. And it subtly rewires how we define happiness, success, and even love. When you think about it, it's the longest-running social experiment in human history, one that most of us never agreed to participate in. Awareness is power. But there is still hope. Once you see how it works, you start to break the spell. You begin noticing patterns, the repetition, the emotional triggers, the artificial scarcity, the appeal to belonging. You start asking questions. Why do I want this? Who benefits if I buy it? Would I still want it if no one else could see me have it? And when you do that, you start reclaiming a small piece of freedom. The freedom to choose what actually matters to you. Advertising isn't going away. It's evolving. But awareness is the antidote to manipulation. From the printed posters of the 1800s to the AI-driven feeds of today, the art of persuasion has quietly shaped the modern world. It's influenced our politics, our self-image, our desires, and our dreams. It's built empires, toppled taboos, and turned psychology into profit. Edward Bernays once said, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society." Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is certain. The invisible hand he described is still there, still shaping what we buy, what we believe, and sometimes even who we are. So the next time an ad makes you feel something, pause. Ask yourself, whose voice is it really? And more importantly, who's listening? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more weird, wild stories. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and as always, stay weird.